Hi, this is Sibila Extreme Vocal and welcome to the third episode of the new series of videos called Free Analysis of Your Extreme Vocals. Extreme Vocal Doctor, because of course I am not the real fucking doctor. My job is to help you to learn what works good in your current vocal technique and sound, what requires fixing, and how to do it step by step to increase the level of both your sound quality and your comfort, so you would feel better and sound fucking better. And what's my background? What's my story? Why am I doing it? Those are a few questions that I want to answer before we will start to listen to today's recordings, which are obviously, as previously, chosen randomly. The order is totally random. So, what is my background? I do vocals since 2012, and since then, I relearned vocals from like 0 point for 3 times, because each time was like hitting a ceiling, you meet some kind of limitations that are not letting you to develop further, and you are like, fuck, I need to go back, fix foundations, fix my mistakes, and start all over again. And it was very, very helpful, not for becoming a good vocalist, but rather becoming a better at teaching, because I learned what works good. I've learned on my own experience, with my own voice, my own pain and frustration, what doesn't work at all, and how to unlearn what doesn't work and how to learn what works, or how to learn what works from the very beginning, and how to avoid the most common or even some rare mistakes on the vocal pathway of development. So I've learned many useful things, but the downside of the whole process of relearning vocals from 0 point for 3 times is definitely a waste of time, because I've wasted around 2.5 years of making those fucking circles, making mistakes, then unlearning them, making new mistakes, and at the same time learning something good, and then getting rid of all of those fucking mistakes and learning stuff in the proper way, still trying to get rid of unhealthy or unnecessary habits and things that were holding my vocals back. So many useful information that I've learned, acquired, useful methods, exercises to grow vocals, both singing and screaming, with various techniques like false chord, fry scream, yell scream, singing with distortion, Kargira throat singing, vocal range development, using different sound colors for singing and screaming and so on. That is something very fucking helpful for my students and the participants of my online courses, or the workshops, the vocal workshops that I do around the Poland. So that's my short story about how I began and how I developed my vocals step by step, making those circles. But with the end of each circle, I was better and more aware of what to stick with, what to avoid, and how to do it better and better and better. Later, what was really helpful was to start helping other vocalists. I wasn't like teacher, it was just like one friend went with me on my training outside the city. We were just practicing songs from Obituary, from Deicide, from Death, and I've told him a few advices, and he was like, you could be a teacher. You show me a few good things. And I was like, nah, Okay, maybe someday. And I started to really teach people like 2 years later, around the end of 2015 or the beginning of 2016. Anyway, I recorded around five long plays, five albums, mostly death metal, black metal, like my band Vishurda, death metal, and kind of like maybe depressive and black metal Gladie, and the old school death metal soul Carrion, and one of my first bands, John Doe, which was kind of like technical groove metal with metalcore influences. There was singing with distortion, and my first tries for the fry scream, plenty of low growl and stuff like this. I've also recorded recently in the past year a black metal album where I performed some old poetry in Swedish. I don't know Swedish, but I had to learn how to pronounce Swedish words, and I did my best. And the guy that I recorded vocals for was happy with the results. And currently, I wait for the release of that album. It's raw, old school, with many punk vibes, black metal, really cool and challenging stuff for me to perform. Besides recording albums, I recorded plenty of demos, single songs for various projects around the world, not only Poland, where I live, because I am from Poland. I've also practiced with a couple of hundreds of people since the late 2015. In the beginning, mostly Poland, but then also online with people from different parts of the world, like USA, Spain, Italy, China, France, Canada, India, Brazil, many cool places, and that I wouldn't be able to see or practice with people from those countries if not the wonder of internet. I've also created courses on Udemy, and I do it since 2018. For example, Ultimate Extreme Vocals course. My courses have over 6,000 of participants, which are quite happy with the courses according to their reviews. I've also recently wrote a short ebook, 5 things killing your fry stream and how to fix them. I don't do it since yesterday, and I try my best, no matter if it's creating a course, even free course, recording a YouTube video, doing vocal workshops for a group of people around the Poland, recording studio album, or doing gigs. I've made not that much gigs around my country because only around 100 of gigs. That's not too much. But technically, me and my bands usually stick to the underground, which will hopefully improve with our next release, because with the Vishurda we will record and release soon a new album. This year I will record vocals for at least 3 albums. So as you see, many things are happening, which is just fucking cool. This is what I want to like connect my future with, vocals, and it's becoming with each day my reality, and that's really fucking cool. Especially that my stuff apparently is helpful for some people around the Poland and the rest of the world, which is the most important. To do something that is helpful and really in a practical way is helping people to achieve their goals and help them to improve their sound and their comfort, because this is what matters, and they can enjoy more what they do and at the same time stay healthy. So this is my job, to help you to sound better and feel better and enjoy your performance more because of sounding better and feeling better. All right, so that's a short story, long story short, or maybe short story long, about my background. And that's not everything. It's not like I want to show off, because I want the spotlight to be on you, your vocals, your recordings, and the feedback for improving your vocals and telling what is already good or fucking great in your technique and sound. And I don't want the spotlight to be on me, because I am not important here that much. It's not about me, it's about you, the whole series. All right. So, that being said, we can start with the analysis of the first recording. I've chosen 5 recordings. The order will be totally random. I don't know which recording will be first, what will appear first. Let's just fucking see. All right, let's start.
No.
That was nasty.
Mid. Hi. Yeah, take a look around what's going on. Danke.
Vielen Dank. All right, so this is a recording from Łukasz from Poland. Really cool guy. He was on one of my vocal workshops around 2019 in Warsaw. He made huge fucking progress since and then. And I know his vocals pretty well. And this recording is not the best thing he's able to do. But for you, it's like, it's all that you can hear from him. So I will not tell you how good he is beside this recording. Let's analyze this recording, because that's the only thing I have for you from him. Beside his band, Drunk Riders, one of his bands. Pretty cool. The name of the band is like dead rock, dead metal, but they play pretty modern music, and they get heavier and heavier and heavier. Maybe they will change their name soon. So Drunk Riders, I will place their music in the description, some links to their songs or something, so you could listen to Łukasz vocals. Anyway, let's take a look what Łukasz has to tell us. Alright, Łukasz, nagranie do oceny, which means simply recording for a review or something. That's not too detailed description, but Łukasz is just like a really straightforward guy. He likes simple, straightforward things. So let's listen once again. There are lows, there are mids, there are highs, and let's listen to the beginning of the recording with the lows. This one, that one has really deep, kind of guttural, but more like a tunnel throat vibe, which is fucking cool. Let's listen once again from the beginning. That one is pretty good, but there's something like this in the background of the scream. That something like this. So it means that it's kind of over projected and a little bit over compressed. But the second sound is different. Just listen again to the first attempt and the second one. Huge difference. And not only because of the tongue setting, like something like this instead of something like this. But also, he got rid of that extra push, tension, that over projection. So he not only changed his resonance for that more sick sound of tunnel throat vibe, he also opened his throat a little bit more. So it was like the space has increased inside of his mouth and throat a bit. Like the vocal tract was stretched a little bit more. The sound got a little bit more of space. It could grow, but most importantly, it could shake off that extra tension that was present in the very beginning of the recording. Just give a listen again. What is good? The second and the third attempt is very fucking good. This is a recording from a phone, so I don't know if you hear it. It's a little bit, maybe not distorted, but it's not too clear. There is much of reverb. I even hear plates from the drums are resonating. I don't know if you hear it, but plates are resonating. There's plenty of reverb, and it's simply a phone recording. So I hear that the signal is more like spread. It's not so focused and sharp as it would be if it was recorded with the microphone. But anyway, the second and the third attempt are fucking good. That tunnel throat vibe is strong. It sounds great. And when Łukasz does it, with the setting of the tongue like this, also his throat opens a little bit more. So his voice is shaking off that extra tension that is present in the very beginning during the first attempt. I am over exaggerating. He sounds better than thing that I am showing, but also the breath is pretty shallow in the beginning, and shallow breathing is creating more pressure that works against your vocal folds and your whole larynx. Let's listen again. That after the first attempt, he kind of get rid of that extra pressure and tension. He opens his throat a little bit more because of changing the shape and the setting of his tongue, and he starts to sound much, much better. Yeah, the second and the third attempts are just fucking cool. And it's a pity that it's only phone recording, because it would sound so fucking good with a little bit higher quality. Anyway, that's very good. Lows are strong, especially with the tunnel throat setting of the tongue and the resonance. Alright, so let's listen to the mid part.
Mid.
There's a little bit too much pressure on the vocal folds and a little bit too much of the voice in the scream. It sounds pretty good, but not as good as the lows. Lows just fucking smash those mids. So the pressure on the voice, on the vocal folds, is too high. Low! Instead of lesser pressure, low! Hey, this is is more like a mid. Hey! Without too much voice in the scream, and low, 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 low. And this is kind of a mid in my case, where when I push, more voice. So instead of it's Do you hear a difference? And that's mostly because of the too intense beginning. Like the beginning of the scream is more like this instead of just this. Oh, more like this instead of whoa. So it's more like this when it's done properly instead of like this. So vocal folds are connecting too much, the attack is too intense, and the pressure on the clean voice is simply too high. When we will push too hard on vocal folds while making the fry scream, basic fry, will create a constricted, clean sound. So when we want to achieve whoa a mid like this or any kind of scream, it's more like easing into the sound. It grows whoa, 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 instead of oh, oh, whoa, 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 instead of so this is something to fix. The very beginning of the mid scream. Let's listen further.
Hi.
Hello.
Ah, take a look around what's going on. Danke.
It actually sounds better than mid. I think that the vocal cord connection is less intense. Vocal folds are more relaxed, but there's one thing to fix. Vocals are over compressed. It's like a hyper compression that something like this, you know. Vocals are a little bit too much. There is too much compression, which makes that kind of whisper vibe around the high-pitched scream.
Take a look around what's going on.
Take a look around. Take a look around. What's going on? Łukasz sounds better than when I do it, mostly because this is something that he's doing on rehearsals, gigs, and so on, and during own practice. And for me, over compressing fry scream to such a degree is definitely not comfortable. It doesn't feel comfortable both physically and mentally. Wow. Yeah. What's going? Even those highs that I show you have plenty of clean voice in them, but my voice managed to get rid of that. Yeah, more like this instead of. And the biggest difference in those two attempts that I shown you are just not squeezing the sound, making it too small, almost constricted, kind of smashed, limited, but giving it a little bit more of space. So there is a little bit lesser of compression. Vocals are more like I wanted to direct them to a little bit further distance. Like, for example, not here, but like I wanted to hit with my voice and the wall or the doors or something. So the sound wasn't similar thing to speaking. So it wasn't like this, something like this, but more something like this, something like this. Instead of something like this, it's something like this. Instead of something like this, it's something like this. So instead of it's more overall. Lows, especially with that tunnel throat vibe, are fucking cool. Mids are a little bit over compressed and too heavily projected, and vocal folds are too firmly connected. During highs, vocal folds are a little bit less tight, but there is that kind of hyper compression, over compression, a vibe that is limiting and closing the sound. So try to find the balance of how much compression you use for highs, how much of the voice you want to add to them, and don't try to control it too much. Just play around with pitch. For example, whoa, whoa, whoa. Start with the mid pitch or even with the low pitch. My low fry screams, even when I engage false vocal folds for them, are not that good because I do mostly low false chord or mid-low false chord for low screams and low growls or gutturals. But in my case, it would be like kind of maybe mid-low scream. Whoa, whoa. And from there, you can go a little bit higher. Whoa, 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 whoa. And from there, you can go a little bit higher with each step. Whoa, 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 wow, 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 wow. And you can play around with it, you know, just different pitches and finding the balance and how much you want to project the sound, how far away you want to direct it, how much space it needs to not be limited, but just resonate free. The sound doesn't have to be too loud. You are pretty loud in this recording. I hear the plates from drums resonating. Maybe it's not necessary to try so hard. Because now I try really hard and it doesn't work as good as I just relax. It works much better. Alright, so let's move to the another recording, the second recording.
1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Die under the rose of the saddest.
I see. So it's the recording from NG, and let's see what NG has to tell us. NG11. Dear Matt, greetings from Czech Republic, Iran. Greetings from Poland. I've been practicing extreme vocals for 2 years. That's pretty long. And I always wanted some kinda scream like Courtney LaPlante or Lena from Infected Rain or In Flames. A crispy, agile fry scream. Though strong, without guttural undertone, I assume. But I'm having a hard time achieving it. As the majority of human population on Earth. And most of people are struggling with that fucking fry scream, including me. It took me a few years to finally learn it on a proper level. Recently, I started to do lots of research and try different methods, but I see now that I'm only going backwards. Fuck. That stuff sometimes happens. Uh, why it sometimes happens? Sorry that I'm interrupting reading the whole message. Because when we start to try out too many things, we try out too many different, sometimes totally opposite directions, our voice loses its stable ground and position. And it can happen that things that we learned and were pretty good, or at least not bad, or just okay, we can kind of lose them, unlearn them. It can be temporary. Sometimes it happens that it's not temporary. We literally lose some abilities because of creating too much confusion, because of trying too many directions at one time. So when you practice vocals, or even not only vocals, just anything, it's good to learn something if it's good. In terms of vocals, it sounds okay, at least okay, and feels at least neutral for your voice and body. And body, I mean, for example, it doesn't create painful tension in your neck, or you don't have headaches or anything like that. So it's good to stick with something that is at least okay before making steps forward. And even if you do experiments and try out different things, it's good to from time to time get back to what you already learned and what works already good, to not lose it, to not forget it, to not unlearn it because of those distractions and experiments. Even if you try different experiments, which is highly recommended to try out different things, different settings even of the face, different settings of the tongue, different pitches, different sound colors. Yeah, you can do it like this. You can do it like this. Nah, nah, nah. Different pitches, sound colors, and so on. Faces, settings of the tongue. The vocal track can be shorter or more stretched, and so on. Experiments are good. You can learn many things. What works good, what is not working at all, what to avoid. But it's very important to get back to what you already learned and not lose it, simply not forget it. Alright, so recently I started to do lots of research and try different methods, but I see now that I'm only going backwards. I can't even remember how I used to do the first part of this video anymore. Damn, this is exactly what I mentioned. Like trying out so many things, so many directions that we are just getting lost. Our voice is just like in the middle of nowhere, and we don't even know from where we came to a point that we are currently at. We don't know the way back, you know? Too much confusion. I simply just can't find it. Frustrating. Man, that sounds fucking frustrating. I'm your student in Udemy now. Woo, that's nice, thank you. And that's great. My video is recorded with a smartphone, except the ending, which is with Shure microphone SM7B. Thank you for sharing your experience with us, NG. Cool. Thank you, NG, for such a detailed message, a story, and the context. That's very, very helpful for me, and it will make the analysis more detailed, and I hope it will be more helpful. So let's try to give a listen once again.
One, two.
Alright, so I don't know if you see it. There's there are subtitles. I finally found this fry noise scream 6 months ago, but had hard time putting words on it. So definitely that sounds like something beyond the fry noise. Fry noise is just a small even this is the fry noise. Fry scream is a little bit more dynamic and there is a little bit more of energy in it, and it's simply a bit louder. So that's more like a fry scream on a head voice. It goes even almost to the whistle register. It's very, very, very high.
One, two! One, two, three, four!
So that's definitely closer to the actual fry scream. The pitch is high and the upper register is used. It almost goes to the whistle register because of the pitch being so high. The only downside of such a pitch and using the upper register is that the sound is pretty small. It's very tight. It's not constricted, it's simply tight. It doesn't have too much space. It's very thin, very sharp, but in some way limited, you know. On such a high pitch, it's much harder to pronounce words and to articulate, especially consonants. So this is why Angie was struggling with her fry scream.
One, two! One, two, three, four!
So the screaming itself is really good. I am sure that if it was performed with vowels, it would be much more smooth, a little bit more relaxed and opened. But consonants, which create a little bit more tension, are making the sound even more limited and smaller and thinner. And it makes it much, much harder to perform words, lines, and so on. Instead of single screams on vowels. So personally, such a scream, such a pitch, I use it mostly for the longest screams or just single screams without any words, just a vowel like ah, eh, ah, or something like this. No consonants and no actual words. Then it's the most effective, the most comfortable. All right, so let's listen what we have else from Angie.
1, 2, 3, 4! 1, 2, 3, 4! 1, 2, 3, 4! 1, 2, 3, 4! 1, 2, 3, 4!
That sounds better in terms of pronouncing words. Again, even so simple as just 1, 2, 3, 4. The pitch is definitely lower. It's like mid-high or mid. Pronunciation is also much clearer. Sound sounds a little bit bigger, like it had a little bit more space to grow, to resonate in, to exist in. The only thing to fix is overprojection. So if you wanted to achieve vocals like Phil Anselmo from Pantera, such an approach is pretty good because Phil did that especially on latest albums from Pantera, that kind of like pissed off man that is able to just slap your fucking face, which is cool to listen to, especially during workouts. But for more like, I don't know, metalcore fry scream, it's a little bit over projected and over compressed. It makes this sound more limited, like confined, squeezed. It doesn't have enough space to grow. I know that I am repeating myself, but it's very similar to what Łukasz was doing. But in the case of Łukasz, he was also adding a little bit too much voice in his mids, and with too much of the voice, he was also adding too much compression. In case of Angie, it's more like the amount of voice is right, but the projection is too heavy, and there is a bit too much of the compression. But except that, it sounds good. It sounds decent.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So much compression, such a heavy projection. I don't know if you see this on the recording, but Angie's larynx is like moving definitely higher than it should. Even after a couple of tries, and that I feel like my voice is already tired, you know? I've done a couple of hours of vocals today, so it's not too smart move from me to repeat and even over-exaggerate things that appear in those recordings. But anyway, there is the so instead of it's for the voice and the larynx and surroundings. It can be exhausting because it's simply too intense. So it can be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, that's the whole difference, the intensity. In the second attempt of mine, jaw was definitely tighter, larynx moved higher, it was more constricted, and the surroundings of my larynx also got stiff and constricted. Whoa! Sounds bigger than this, but that approach, everything just flows smooth. It sounds better and feels much better, and the major difference is just balancing how much I want to project this sound and how much compression I need to use to achieve a fry scream.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Even after the 1, 2, 3, 4, you can hear a kind of sigh of relief. It's that. Just listen closely. It's a very common thing, and that's a clear sign that we overused the compression and overall the pressure.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means that we overdid the compression. Let's listen further.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Die under the rose of the saddest.
I see. So, actually how it sounds on a recording with real microphone. It's partially true, you know, because you are not doing it the same way as in the previous parts of the recording. It doesn't matter if you use microphone or smartphone or anything else, because the last attempt that was a recording with microphone is performed with a totally different approach, you know? So it's not like you sound better on the phone and you don't sound good on the actual mic. It's more like when you recorded your screaming on the microphone, you used even more pressure, more compression, but along the compression, constrictions. And it made you sound worse, and probably it wasn't as comfortable as previous attempts for the scream.
1, 2, 3, 4. Die under the rose of the saddest.
Yeah, so there is even more. And there is something that I need to mention. Some people, and not even some, many people, when they stand in front of the microphone, or even if they sit like I sit, and they have microphone in front of their mouth, and they want to record something, it gets serious. That's a serious situation. Especially if you record in a studio that you pay for, and you want to and need to record vocals for songs for your band, of your band. So this is a serious situation. And what we do in serious situation, we want to do our best. We want to show the highest peak of our technique and the sound. And we want to, I will fucking do it. We want to be the best as possible. And what happens because of that approach, whether we are doing it consciously or totally subconsciously, we create a massive tension in our whole body, especially in shoulders, in the neck, in jaw, even in chest. I think this is something that happened with Angie's voice, that, this is a microphone situation. The recording has to be much, much better than on the phone, which was only like partially serious, but not too serious. And something like this happened. So I will not even analyze it because it simply sounds like the sound was smashed by the kind of seriousness of the situation. Like Angie wanted to do her best, but what happened was the opposite. And it's very, very common. Even in 2017, which was only like 5 years ago, I was recording a demo for my band Vishurda, and I was able to do a high-pitched false chord and fry scream during rehearsals or during gigs with other band of mine, and everything was fucking cool. But when I stood with the microphone in front of me and I started to record high-pitched screaming, I sounded like a dying goat, And I was like, what the fuck just happened? I am really able to do some really cool high-pitched screaming. I have even recordings, phone recordings from rehearsals with pretty decent high-pitched screaming vocals, both with the fry, with the false chord, and what the fuck, I can't even do okay sound in high-pitched scream. And I think that, first of all, I didn't record myself too much with the microphone, so I didn't have experience with how my voice behaves when I want to record on the microphone. And it was something fresh for me, something not comfortable for me mentally, and I wanted to overcome it by trying to be bigger and stronger, and it fucked up the situation even more. So it's good to practice in different surroundings, not only rehearsals with amplification, and not only practice at home. At that time I didn't practice at home. I was like going under bridges or to some abandoned houses and weird places. I knew how my voice is behaving in kind of acoustic version without amplification, but it turned out that wasn't enough for my voice to prepare it for recording on a microphone, my high-pitched screaming. And it screwed up my recordings. I recorded some pretty good high-pitched vocals, but I decided to move them so much to the background that no one would hear them. So summing up, the high-pitched scream with the fry in the upper register, which goes almost to the whistle register. This is very good for single screams with vowels like ah, for example, or syllables like ya, wo, wow, wow, or something like this, without consonants, without actual words. especially for the beginning. Otherwise, it can be much harder because such a high pitch and the register are thinner and much harder to produce consonants and pronounce full words.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This is pretty good, just a matter of balancing how much you want to project vocals, how much kind of aggression you want to use. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a matter of balance. And the third attempt is simply trying too hard. I hope my feedback will be helpful for you, and G, there is huge potential in your fry. I hope that you will manage to unlock it. If you had any questions or new recordings, feel free to contact me anytime, and I will do my best to help you out. Okay, so let's start with the third recording. What we will have there. Alright, that's a short recording, and let's listen again. This is the recording from Govin, and let's see what... so the message is short. Help your bro. Just my note about Govin. He sends me his stuff since a couple of months on email, on Instagram, and he is simply asking about his progress. He sends me a lot of stuff. He asks a lot of questions, and he's like always, help me bro, and help your bro, and stuff like this. So let's listen once again. That's apparently an attempt for the false chord growl and the alphabet A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Each repetition is very similar. It's massive amount of air projected forcefully with the false chord growl. So it's like bird, 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 bird. The projection is not only like this, but also the amount of air is too big, simply too big. So everything is at the same time pretty forceful, but at the same time pretty breathy. But this recording is pretty good compared to earlier stuff that Govin sent me. So he's still making progress, building up his vocals step by step, month after month. He's getting a little better, a little bit better, a little bit better. So that's something that I have to mention. But as you hear, it's not perfect. There is a setting like this for the voice that the onset has to be changed, has to be improved. What is onset? What is a vocal onset? I have a material about the vocal onset, and shortly it's just the way how we begin the sound, the phrase. It can be singing or screaming or whatever. The onset is the way how we begin the sound. We have a glottal onset that and instead of hey, 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 it can be hey, 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 hey. It's called also a glottal attack. Instead of hey, 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 which is called a coordinated or balanced onset. And we have also a breathy onset or aspirated onset, which is instead of hey, 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 something like hey, 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 breathy or aspirated onset happens when our vocal folds are not connected enough and more air is flowing and less or more forcefully. Coordinated onset is like our vocal folds connect, but only when we want to make a sound. So it's coordinated onset. That's a perfect name for that. So the airflow is coordinated with the vocal cord connection. And the vocal cord connection is enough to produce hey, hey, hey. Clean, confident, yet at the same time subtle sound. And the glottal attack or hard onset is like our vocal folds are connecting forcefully. Everything is constricted and very, very tight. So the onset has to be fixed. Govin sounds like he's using the breathy onset and he wants to overcome it by using higher pressure and maybe more of the support, but it doesn't make his false vocal folds connect more for creating the false chord growl. So it's breathy and forceful at the same time. Just give a listen again. Once the onset will be fixed, so the sound will be not or more like for example, like this. It's nothing to show off, just a basic false chord growl, nothing really special. But it's not too breathy, it's not too constricted, it's not too forceful. Just a basic sound without extra air or extra force. That's all. So once it will be fixed, and at the same time you will not try to aim for too low sound, you will sound Govin much better. When we aim for lower pitch, even with clean voice, and we don't have the best voice emission technique, something like this can happen instead of the sound is small, but it's not too breathy, and at least not as breathy. And if I did instead of if I did yeah, you hear probably the difference. And it's all about the way how I lead my voice. If I think with my voice like it will get out of control totally. It will die and it will be very breathy. And the same thing can happen with our false chord fry scream or whatever we do. So if you go low, it's not it's more the way I think about the direction of my voice is more like this instead of like this. I think that Govin might try to go too low for the current level of his technique, and this is something that again, over exaggeration. So when I think with my voice down, and when I think more like this, yeah? And that's the whole difference. All right, and now the fourth recording. What we will have there? It's a recording from Veneral Equinox. I think that it should be probably maybe vernal equinox. Veneral sounds so grindcore. Veneral equinox. Hi, I heard that you analyze recordings with vocals, so I decided to send you something to get feedback. I am a professional opera singer, also trained in CVT, complete vocal technique, a system with 12 years of vocal experience overall. I love classical music, but I look for more ways to express myself as a vocalist, so I decided to try out some more extreme stuff like fry scream. It's been 3 months since I started to practice, and I wonder if the direction is good, because that's something totally new for my voice. Here is the recording of my 2 attempts for the scream. The first day, and then after 2 months of practice. Thanks for help. My nickname is Veneral Equinox. Recently I started to dig the porn grind stuff, and it's fucking good, lol. What a crazy thing we have here. Alright, so are you interested how sounds a guy with 12 years of vocal experience, a professional opera singer who knows also complete vocal technique? I am. So, and I didn't listen to that recording. I saved it as a cherry on top, you know, I didn't listen to it. Okay, so let's check it out. Shit. That reminds me of some V vicerness. Damn, I don't even know how to analyze it. It's so fucking heavy. Okay, so let's listen once again. Is this something that you would expect from a professional singer with 12 years of experience? Fuck, me too. I wouldn't. That's fucking high. But it's definitely not a fry. It's very high, but not a fry. That's a whistle register. A little bit constricted, but still a whistle, but without any kind of fry distortion. This is so fucking heavy. This is extreme. As we know, that was the first day of attempts for the fry, and now let's listen to the rest of the recording, and let's check out the progress of after 2 months of practice. Then maybe I shouldn't even listen to that. I am afraid of what we will just hear after this. How is that even possible? Oh fuck, I am kind of like blown away, you know? Is this something that you would expect? Okay, let's check it out again. I have no words for such a progress, you know? Maybe it was a part of a joke, and I fucking have you, because it is just a fucking joke, you know? So, happy April Fool's Day, or whatever it's called. Like, I hope that I didn't like spoil it, and I've caught you. If I didn't catch you, then I fucking suck. But I hope that you swallowed the hook. The first part of the recording, it's me just fucking fooling around, trying to do the worst type of vocals I am able to. And accidentally, I've reached the whistle register, which was a surprise. It's not the kettle, it's me. And the second part of the recording is something serious, and it's not me. It's one of my students with whom I practiced around 2 years ago, or maybe 1.5 years ago, and he really made fucking good progress in around maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And you can listen to his vocals in a project of his MF. Anyway, let's listen to his screaming. He's really good on this recording, very, very high potential. Kind of like some Carter vibes, maybe heavier screams, melodic screams from Linkin Park or stuff like that. That kind of melodic metalcore emotional screaming. And now let's go to another recording, which is not a trick. Okay, so this is the recording from KC Beats, and let's see what he has to say. I've tried false chord high scream, and this is another recording. I think that it will be analyzed in further episodes, because I choose only one recording from each person for each episode, you know, so everyone would have space for them. And the short-term recording is my attempt for the guttural. Let's listen once again. That sound reminds me of a little bit like that cricket kind of noises in grindcore and all of those genres that were born from the grindcore, like porn grind and stuff like this. That cricket vibe is definitely there. And what is the source of that cricket vibe? I think those are the arytenoid cartilages that create that cricket vibe. And the sound is a little bit more kind of gargly, it's less smooth. This is something close to what I've learned at the first place around 2012, when I was starting with vocals. My vocals were a little bit smoother and closer to the false chord, but they weren't good. What has to be fixed is the false vocal folds engagement, because currently it's more like arytenoid cartilages engagement and maybe epiglottis that creates the distortion, and not enough of the false vocal folds engagement. The precision of the false vocal folds engagement has to be fixed. Second thing, the airflow has to be a little bit more controlled, and if there is a shape of your mouth or tongue, it has to be combined with the direction of the airflow and the sound, because it's like doing such a face to sound nasal, but the air is not reaching my nose, you know? It doesn't change anything. Now it's connected. Now it's nasal. Because the air reaches my nasal cavity. And now it has sense. It has sense to wrinkle my nose, because the air is also reaching my nasal cavity. So it's like you twist your tongue, shape your mouth, but the air and the sound is not using those settings. It just goes somewhere else, so it doesn't work. Let's listen again. Instead of aiming for the guttural and any kind of resonance and weird setting, it would be good to firstly nail the basic false chord growl, make it repeatable, precise, comfortable, and at least okay sounding, a little bit smoother, less gargly. For example, instead of something like this, which is very uncomfortable, at least for me. And then, once the foundation, the false chord, the airflow management is at least okay, then you can play around with different pitches, trying to darken the voice, trying to go lower, and checking the impact of different shapes of your mouth and tongue on the sound that you create. So maybe you are rushing too much, and before nailing, mastering the basic false chord with a growl, you're trying to achieve too deep, too low, and too weird sound for the possibilities of your current technique. That's all. So what I would highly recommend is to set the foundation first. I don't know your overall experience with vocals, but it would be good to firstly take care of posture, straight back, straight neck, opened chest, relaxed shoulders. That's the foundation. It helps you to breathe deeper, faster, and avoid unnecessary constrictions in your whole body. It makes you also automatically breathe deeper, and your breathing will be of higher quality at the same time. And thanks to deeper and more effective breathing, you will lose less air with the sound that you produce. You will avoid extra pressure on your larynx and parts like arytenoid cartilages or epiglottis. Because when there is much more pressure than we need, we will start to engage parts of our voice that we don't want to use for the false chord. For example, the epiglottis instead of false vocal folds. The next thing is the voice emission and ability to set your voice properly, to open the throat, to use properly the resonance, and avoid any kind of unnecessary tension in your jaw, your tongue, and most importantly, the vocal folds and larynx as well. Good exercises for setting the voice will also help you to learn how to support properly, because it might be that now you are clenching your belly and your abs, six-pack muscles, instead of using precisely your breath support. And so when I tighten my abs and I will do a growl, yeah, you hear that? It's very gargly. It's only like 10% of false vocal folds activity. The rest is like epiglottis and arytenoid cartilages. And I use plenty of air, and instead of a basic false chord sound like this with a growl, it's something like this because of tightened abs. And similar situation can happen if your jaw is tight, or if you didn't work on the foundations, another foundations of the voice emission before trying to practice with the false chord or any other extreme vocal technique. So take care of the proper foundations. If you want it, I can help you with that. If not, you can find a teacher in your area that will help you to breathe properly, to set your whole body, and to use your clean voice at the first place, coordinated with the support. And after that, you can try to master the foundations with the basic false chord growl. And after that, you can play around with pitch, the depth of your vocals, the sound color, and the different shapes of mouth and tongue to modify your sound. All right, folks. So thank you very much for today. I hope you like this episode. If so, give thumb up, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot for the development of the channel. Your support, subscriptions, likes, sharing is caring. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Feel free to send me more recordings. I will gladly record new episodes as long as you will send me your stuff for the analysis. And have a great weekend, have a great practice. Cheers and love, fuckers.